Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist and startup expert, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly we've been left to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward. The dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Dhylles Victoria. Dhylles is the founder of the Relentless Reinvention Experience, which includes her book, Relentless Reinvention, From Breaking Point to Breakthrough, to her podcast, Relentless Reinvention Experience podcast. Dhylles, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me today.
Thank you, Sophie. I appreciate it. I resonate with everything you said in the intro. I was just like, that's right. I've been there, done that. Completely get it, 100%.
Before we look behind the scenes today, can you share with us a little bit more about the work you do?
Absolutely. I'm Dhylles Victoria, author, podcaster, speaker, author consultant. I help authors, aspiring authors and emerging authors learn how to utilize their books in different ways by develop lucrative streams of income from their book, be it digital products to speaking engagements to fun-filled events to excerpts and quotes that they could post on social media to direct people to buy their book and things like that. So that's what I do. I'm also a writer. I like to write content for people like yourself, holistic practitioners, mental health and wellness industries and things like that, because I also come from the healing background as a healing practitioner myself. So I know the content and personal development and all the things that go along with it. So I do a little bit of that as well.
I was going to ask if there was a reason that you focused on these types of clients, and it's because that's where your background is.
It's my background, and also it's something that I've done when it comes to my own healing journey and facing the self and going back and, parenting the little girl inside of me and kind of like helping the teenager in me because she could be a rageful bitch at times and having to do the work and learning how to self-regulate and self-soothe and question the self and try to figure out what is from what is not.
Is the main way that you work with people then in this type of business model one-on-one?
One-on-one and also group, or I would like to say fun-filled events. I think sometimes when you're doing healing work, it gets a little bit too serious at times. So I want to have it a little fun where people see it as fun. They just don't see it as, oh my God, I have to do this healing work. I have to do the shadow work. I have to look inside myself. No, you can also have a positive, powerful, impactful event that has food and drinks and laughter and dancing and all these other things that come along with it, because there's two sides to it. And also encouraging people that there is freedom on the other side. Healing doesn't always have to be this depressed, down and out, crying all the time. It could be laughing. It could be, exuding your confidence and your sensuality and your sexuality within your body if you are a female energy type of person.
Absolutely. So do you have online and in-person components to your business?
In-person events would be the book signings, the different workshops that I offer. The online component is I have a group, it's called the Author Monetization Hub. And there is where I invite authors of all kinds, aspiring, emerging, or authors who've been doing it for a long time, but they still try to figure out a way how to expand their business in a different type of way and just give them free resources, paid digital products, as well as training, both free and paid training, so that they can have a different aspect and know how to utilize their voice and know how to take their book and turn it into an income stream machine where it's not just sitting there. Because perfect example, I'm guilty of this. I've written 6 books and about 3 of them, I posted it for a little bit and it just sat there. So it's helping them to be more intentional and utilizing that tool because you worked hard for it, you wrote it. It could have been based on a life experience or life experiences. And all your experiences happen for a reason. I think all experiences, be it good, bad, and different, are gifts to teach us something. And if you are able to survive it and not allow the bad experiences to define who you are, then it's a purpose. And that purpose is needed to be talked about and shared.
Absolutely. I think that, well, I don't want to necessarily go down this rabbit hole right now because I have some other things I want to ask you, but it is something that is one of the things that I work with people on the business strategy side, very
Mhm.
similar to what you said, is so often we have this amazing work and we'll put something out, but because there's not traction, because we don't know what to do with it, then we'll offer hop. We'll change the offer. Oh, well, this one didn't work. And so we'll do the next thing. It's similar to like what you're saying. We'll write the book. People will write the book, but then not do anything with it because they don't have usually the blueprint for what to do with it. It's just not where their mind is. They're not thinking, and then they'll pop to the next thing. And so often it's kind of like my area of expertise or my bread and butter is absolutely brilliant, gifted people who fall into that category. They're so good at the work. It is so easy for them to create so many different types of amazing things. But I think that
Mhm.
it's so easy to fall into this trap of thinking, oh, well, this one didn't get momentum. It didn't, like air quotes, work. So let me just do the next better offer. So then they'll go and create the next thing and then get into this pattern of
Mhm.
creating, but then not doing anything with the creation, because usually, again, that's where my work comes in. It sounds like your work comes in on the specifically with the book side. What do you do with it? How do you make sure that you're not just getting into that loop of creation without letting it ground and like finding the way to let that cultivate community and resources and energy and finances and all the things that we need to keep the machine going?
Yeah.
And so we get stuck in this trap of creating
Mhm.
without grounding the creation and understanding and using that to cultivate the full ecosystem.
Absolutely. I think too, the other problem that I see, and I'm guilty of this too, is competition or thinking that once my book is published on Amazon, Amazon is going to do the work for me. And it's realizing, no, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the time, you have to be strategic about your marketing. Your book or whatever it is that you're doing has to have some type of problem solving resolution for people to want to read it, to purchase it, to experience it. And so there's different marketing strategies that you have to do in order to do that. And be it videos, like I do excerpts from my book and I post it on social media, or I take little statements from my book and I put it as a quote. And then I have all the content at the bottom. But it's like, who's this for? How come I wrote it? All of the things. And so it's just like very meticulous detail, but it's also learning how to evoke emotions and pierce into the heart spaces of the people that you're looking to buy your book or your product or your service or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I mean, so many things that you're saying is exactly what is vital for people to nail on the business building side, how to create a solid foundation, like the
Mhm.
vital necessary foundation for a business to be successful and be sustainable long term is nailing some of these things early on. It's what I teach people. Usually they miss this vital startup phase and understanding how to nail these like five vital components before starting to try to grow, employing these growth strategies. If you do that too soon, it will stall out, but
Yeah.
not because the work isn't valuable. It's because you didn't nail these things. And so, especially when it comes to online, of course, cultivating anything
Yeah.
online, you have to be crystal clear about the things that you just mentioned. And, one of the things, and it doesn't surprise me that we run into the same thing working with the same types of people that I do is, I've said this several times on this podcast, it's like working with a bunch of Merlins, people who do things backwards because
Yep.
we are such visionaries and we can see the solution. But people are missing how to, and I tell people this is one of the things that I support people to do, how to bridge your gifts and your brilliance
Right.
backwards to the people that need it. The business technical term, less sexy or less,
Perfectionism.
yeah, is like you have to understand how to match your skills and your gifts with real market demand.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to bridge that, it's like what you're saying. You have to be able to pull these things out. Why? because you have to be able to bridge it to real market demand right now, not market demand in 5 years or 10 years. This is that Merlin work of how to work things backwards to
Mhm.
ground it to, again, the business technical term is like real market demand right now, how to validate that. And sounds like what you can do. And it's the same thing that I tell people. You can find it. It's not that, oh, well, I couldn't find it, so this offer isn't good. It's like, no, you just need to find the pocket and understand how to articulate that to the
Yep.
people that need it. And there's a way to do that for everyone's gifts, for everyone's work. It sounds like in your case for the book and whatever you put out. It
Yep.
is possible. You have to understand how to do it, but the offer is not bad. The work
Mhm.
isn't bad. It's you have to understand though how to work it all the way backwards to connect it with real, tangible, validated, like again, not sexy term, market demand, real people with real problems, really clear,
Mhm.
specific problems. And you have to understand how to articulate that and understand how to connect it to that.
Absolutely.
When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and for your business?
Consistent increase of book sales, consistent increase of the digital products that are being sold, as well as more book signings and more workshops. And so I am building relationships with the different bookstores here in Wilmington, as well as my partner and I, we're going to New York in the end of May. And New York is my stomping grounds, right? So I'm actually having a book signing there in New York with the people who want to see me and celebrate me. So it's kind of like a twofold. Instead of me going to see this one one day, I'm just like, let me just pack everyone in a room together. Say hello, how you doing? Here's a copy of my book. Thank you for your support. Everything good? All right, cool bet. And so doing stuff like that, and just keeping up the momentum, like I said, and consistently posting content that is impactful, positive, powerful, because I think sometimes too, when it comes to healing or transformation and whatnot, sometimes it comes from the negative aspect into the positive. Like, if you feel broken, if you feel lost, I want to put a different spin on it and make it more positive. So people will be like, okay, well, yeah, she's talking to me, but she's not making me feel bad about myself, or I'm not feeling bad reading this or whatever. And they back away. So I'm utilizing content to be more positive, encouraging, inspirational, and motivating when it comes to the content that I put on social.
When it comes to getting that momentum, getting those more consistent sales,
Mhm.
clients, what do you think it's going to take to get there? Or do you feel like you're guessing?
I think for me is having a strategy in place and just utilizing that strategy consistently and just algorithms seeing what works and what doesn't work and what is working, continue to work that and just expand it just a little bit more. And always have a calendar on me so I can stay consistent in what it is that I'm doing on a daily basis. And not only that, but I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we tend, and I'm guilty of this too, we tend to just go ahead and do the work because we're so passionate about it that we forget to eat, we forget to sleep, we forget to exercise. So remembering too that I have a life outside of this. Yes, this is bread and butter. Yes, it's money. But at the same time, if I want my energy to stay in consistent flow and frequency, I have to step away. I got to go put my feet in the grass. I got to go hang out with my partner. I have to eat some great, yummy food. I have to go walk with my friends who are my neighbors. We walk Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the park. And so we hold ourselves accountable. It's watching a Netflix movie or binge watching something for a day. So it's always having that balance as well, because you can't just do work and no play.
Yeah, this comes up so much as a pattern on here about the real, not conundrum, but the reality of being leaders in
Mhm.
wellness and well being, and in juxtaposition, I guess you could say, to the realities of entrepreneurship, which is like so much demand in the old way of doing it, which is go, 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 give, give, throw out your health, your well being, your relationships, because the business is going to take, and it's going to take all this effort. But those of
Mhm.
us that are doing the work that we're doing, like we have to lead by example. We can't throw
Yep.
all of it out just because now all of a sudden we're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. We have to find a way to rewrite that
Mhm.
conditioning of like, this is the way it has to go. Something's
And I
got to
mean,
give because we can't do that. We need to walk the walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes it could work for certain people. Don't get me wrong, but at what cost is it going to work for you when, you're not taking care of your health, you're not paying attention to your body, you're not drinking enough water, you're not getting enough sleep, things like that. You're not taking your vitamins, you're not eating the correct foods, you're not moving your body because as we get older, the body changes. So it's all those things that come into play as well.
What feels hardest about getting to this next phase of consistency and momentum for you with your business? What feels hardest or most unclear or most uncertain?
It's the most simplest thing, but it's the hardest thing for me, figuring out what social media platform would work best. I think that's the hardest for me. I do have my Substack, of course. I'm on Facebook and Insta and TikTok and la 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 la. And it's trying to find a happy medium with all of them where I can post certain things. And I do utilize a lot of ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot to give me ideas of how to go about organizing the different platforms and the content that I create. So that's the hardest thing for me. Everything else is fine in that department because I know what I need to do when I'm in person. Wonderful, great. On all online spaces, of course, online to me, sometimes it's so oversaturated. Sometimes I just want to get off. So I think that would be the thing for me.
Totally. I mean, this is usually in some way, shape, or form the number one hardest thing for everyone that I talk to. The overwhelm, the noise, yeah, just so many things about it. Social media tends to be this thing that is such a thorn in people's sides. And for me personally as well, it something that this like idea of also social media growth myth has come up a lot as well when I talk to people about just this idea of we need social media and our social media needs to grow, but wait a second, it's not growing, but also wait, do I really need that? And like,
Yeah.
it's so confusing.
It is confusing. And I mean, there's other things, other platforms that you can actually go on as far as where Facebook is concerned and Instagram. And so that's why I do appreciate Substack because Substack is not about all algorithms. It's about people who write, people who love to create and inspire with their content. And now they have lives on Substack as well, which I really don't like because I liked it when it was all writing, but you got to move with the times, if you will. But I think with Substack, when you post an article, your article is right up there with everyone else's. So everyone on Substack gets to see it. It's not a thing where there's a whole bunch of algorithms and there's this and there's that. So I like that platform, but I still kind of like utilize the other one just to direct people to back to Substack.
And the reality of all of the different platforms, like you said, balancing that with the solopreneurship of like, are
Yeah.
we seriously supposed to keep up with it all? Not just keep up with it, but genuinely when there are so many different platforms and like you said, writing on some and video on some and graphics on some, like
Mhm.
genuinely, how do we keep up with wearing all of those different hats because each one is its own
Yeah.
thing?
And I think that's why even though a lot of people cannot deal or stand I appreciate AI to a certain extent. And the one thing that I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about AI is that we tell it what to do. If we don't tell it what to do, it can't do anything. So it's finding a way how to make it still your own voice, but utilizing the service because to me, it's working smarter, not harder in a sense, especially when it comes to social. So that's why I use it for the social media part.
If you could wave a magic wand and have one thing solved or fixed for you in this building process with your
Mhm.
work, what would it be?
How to consistently generate income, consistently generate it where it's easy, it's flowing, it's not too much brain power. It's not too much trying to figure this out or figure that out because I'm a kind of person that I like to ask myself, what sets me apart from everyone else? What is my unique quality that people need, not want, but need about me and what I offer as a service? And a lot of that should just like consistently generate income or like some people say, make money in your sleep, quote unquote. That would be it.
And what's the cost? What's the cost if you're not able to get your work?
Mm.
where you want it to be or where you know it's possible and really reach the full potential of what you know is possible for you and the work that you do? What's the cost to you, to others, to the world?
I would be sitting around with a heavy heart and a heavy spirit. And I actually went and got a job. I was working at a domestic violence shelter services job. I was a victim's advocate, and just to multiply my income. And it was the best experience in my life, but the worst experience in my life. And being very empathetic and feeling everyone's emotions and feelings was a lot for me. And it took a toll on me mentally. And I was working second shift. So between 3 and 11, between 8 and 11, actually, it was downtime and quiet time. And I just felt like I was getting very comfortable and complacent. And that doesn't sit well with my spirit. And I was feeling so heavy hearted because I'm like, damn, like, this is not what I want to be doing. I have to find a different way how to allow the entrepreneur in me, the healer in me, the leader in me, the purpose driven person in me to do what I love to do, where it doesn't feel like work. And at the same time, still live life.
It's like this double-edged sword of finding alignment and
Mhm.
finding true purpose where you can't unsee it, you can't unfeel it, but it's so hard
Mhm.
to figure out the solopreneurship, entrepreneurship. And so many of us are still trying to find the way to find that consistent flow, really just find sustainability or just find find a way to make at least enough for now to pay our bills.
Well,
And so it turns into this, yeah, this like double-edged sword where you find your true purpose, or at least you get on that path to,
mhm.
it's hard to unsee that. It's hard to step away from it. But at the same time, when you layer on the realities of entrepreneurship, it's like, it's a bit of a conundrum.
It is for sure a bit of a conundrum. I was working with an employment agency and they sent me on this interview the other day. And I was asking the owner of the company, what do you expect out of your employees? And she said, perfectionism, excellence, and high expectations. And that struck a chord in me. And I'm like, why the hell am I over here at this interview when I should be owning my business with excellence and high expectations and perfectionism? What the hell? So I think universe sent me there for me to get that confirmation of what I need to do where my business is concerned. And so I thank the universe. Like, thank you for that lesson. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's hard to step away, but also the reality is, and it takes courage to, I've talked to many people. Like I had to get a full-time job again because I thought it was I didn't realize it was gonna be this hard. I didn't realize it was going to be so hard to find clients. I didn't realize I was going to devote my life and my career path and my resources and my money to serving others and helping others and then not know how to find the people to help.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because it's like I'm clear about my vision and purpose. I have the strategy and a plan. I know the blueprint. I know this, I know that, and I know I can get it done and I can help people, but it's where the people at? And sometimes you do have the people, but it's far and few and in between. And so again, it feels like a competition, if you will, not against other entrepreneurs or holistic practitioners or whatever, but it feels like a competition when it comes to figuring out who is who and what is what and who the people that you want to work with and where are they. And if you're able to talk to them, it's like, oh, well, I'm already working with someone who does that or something to that effect. So it's just different things that goes on. So for me, when I think about that, it's like, okay, if we can't do one-on-ones, if we can do like book signings, if we can do digital products and do things this way and do the book sales, it may be a little bit easier to have a sustainable business without having to have the one-on-ones because your price is your price, of course. And a lot of people don't understand that. So they feel like, okay, if you're charging $500 for 2 sessions or whatever it is that you charge, it's like, well, Joe Schmo down the block is doing the same thing, but they're charging less money. And it's like, that's good and dandy. But would you go to Michael Kors or Fendi or perfect example, Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and tell them that? You would pay them what they're worth. So why would you do that to someone else? Because the person is not a household name, quote unquote. So it's stuff like that.
Yeah, it's part of the breakdown for so many of us of how to clearly articulate value and build trust around something that can't easily be captured in a picture, right? Like a before and after picture. How do we, again, like articulate and express the value and build trust around it? It's a whole thing. It's a whole
Yep.
thing. And of course, one of the easy ways is when it comes to online trust building, the old way, which it's dissolving, that's going to change a lot over the next 5 years. But it's like, oh, follower count. Oh, someone has a lot of followers. They must be really good, which isn't true, right? Like we know that, or at least I'll articulate it. Someone that has a really big brand is just going to bring different things to the table, but it's going to be less specific. It's going to be less, so what I see is so vital for those of us to do that aren't the Mel Robbins and the Tony Robbins, which again, it's apples to oranges. It's actually really hard to compare these business models. But for those of us, like we have the opportunity to cultivate such clear expertise, cultivate these business models where our people, our exact target market is at the center of everything that we do. That's something that a household name can't do because now all of a sudden they have to shift through time to be able to accommodate to lots of different people, which is, again, it's just pros and cons. It's not that one's better or worse, but we have to understand where we can add value that these other things can't, and
Exactly.
and capitalize on that. And there's so many things to how to build around that. But yeah, everything that you're saying, it's something that as a collective, we are, I think, coming around to, because the old way of building trust just being follower count, that's going to start changing a lot. Like you said, like people are getting really fatigued online because they don't know who to trust. And now AI and like what's AI and what's not. And so I think a lot is going to change. Well, it's changed a lot. Consumer behavior since COVID has changed so much, but it's going to rapidly change, I think, over the next 18 months to 24 months because of some of the stuff that is changing when it comes to even like AI generated videos and content. I think people are going to be craving the real person. They're going to be going straight to how can I find someone that's really real, and all these things, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah, totally get everything that you're saying.
And to your point too, I find a lot of celebrities and a lot of social media influencers are starting to be more vulnerable and more real and more authentic with their content, with their videos and things like that, as opposed to putting on a pretty picture or the filters or, having to look a certain kind of way. There's times where I'm on camera, I have no makeup on. My eyebrows have like the grays in it, all that kind of stuff and that was always from day one, being as a real and authentic and vulnerable as possible, because that's how you build trust. Because if you start out with this perfect type of perception of who you are, and afterwards you want to be like, oh, but that's not me. And then you start taking off the makeup and you start doing this and you start doing that. People will be like, well, wait a minute. You sold me something that you weren't, and I bought into the Kool-Aid, and now I have to go and throw it away and not deal with you because you were not real.
Totally. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up today?
Just, be authentic to yourself, whatever it is that you're building and working on, just consistently do it. And don't really think about the algorithms and the likes and the numbers and this and that. That's not the reason why you decided to do what you're doing. And that's something that I had to learn within myself. So even if I have 2 likes, 2 comments, I'm like, all right, cool, bet. It hit 2 people. It did its job. And consistently to keep going and just put in your mindset that you made a conscious decision to be who you are. You were created a certain kind of way. Stick with that. And whatever the purpose is, stick with that as well. You can expand it as much as you want, but stick with it.
Dhylles, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you. And if you want to reach Dhylles directly, the link to her Substack is in the show notes. Thank you again, Dhylles, and to everyone else. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.